Okay, good morning students. In the previous class we have already discussed about free consent and about mistake, coercion, undue influence, mistakes, wagering contracts, contingent contracts, etc. So in the third module we will be discussing about the performance of contract. Performance of contract is said to be one of the important element of the contract. Performance means, or performance of a contract means fulfillment of a legal obligations of a contract. When two parties of a contract duly fulfills their rights and the obligations in the contract, we say that they have performed their contract and it has come to a happy ending. So, at the proper time and place, they need to perform their contract. Then, the parties will not be liable for any kind of problems which they have to face in the future. So, they'll be free from further liabilities if they properly perform their contract. So, performance have to be done at the right time and at the right place. So, here we are discussing about performance of contract. So, as I said, the contract has to be duly performed by both the parties as per the terms of the contract. There should not be any kind of confusion between the parties regarding the performance of the contract. If one of the party do not perform the contract at the right time, then we cannot say that the contract is properly performed. Performance of the contract is said to be one of the natural and a normal mode of discharging and terminating the contract. So, if we perform the contract in a very good manner, we can say that we have properly discharged or we have come to an end of the contract. So, both the parties will have a happy ending if they duly perform their contract. So, the performance of the contract can be classified into two types. The first one is actual performance. Actual performance, from the word itself, it's clear that what is actual performance? A normal way of performing the contract. In this, both the parties of the contract at the right time they perform the contract. That is, for example, if A promises to deliver 500 bags of rice to B and B in return would pay rupees 20,000 to A. So in this case, at the time when A delivers the good to B and B makes the payment to A, we can say that they have actually performed the contract. So when the parties, when they fulfill their legal obligations at the right time and in a proper manner, we can say that they have actually performed the contract. So this is the example of the actual performance, a normal way of performing the contract. Next one is attempted performance. Attempted performance, or we can call it as offer to promise or we call it as tender. So, attempted performance means where a promiser had made an offer to the promisee and the promisee does not accept that offer, we can say that the promiser had made an attempted performance, or that we can call it as a tender. That is, when one party of the contract makes a performance, or if he wants to perform a contract, he will make an offer to the promisee. Due to some reason, the promisee may not accept the contract. In such case, we call it as attempted performance. So, attempted performance, as I said, we can call it as an offer to promise, or we can call it as tender. For example, if A offers to build a house to B for rupees 50 lakh, and in return B promises to pay rupees 50 lakh. In this case, if A is not ready to build the house, or if A actually makes an offer but B is not willing to get build that house from A, he doesn't want it from A to build the house. So in that case, B may say that, or B does not accept the contract. So here we can say that A has made his willingness, or he wants to perform the contract, but the other party has not accepted the contract. So in this case, we cannot say that A is liable for his non-performance of the contract, because A has shown his willingness to perform. It is the B who have not accepted that offer. So this is what is called as an attempted performance or a tender. Now, when one party makes a tender to another party, there are certain things to be noticed, or there are some essentials of a valid tender. The first essential is that it must be unconditional. So, the essentials of a tender. So the first one is that it must be unconditional. So an offer is said to be conditional when it is against the terms of the contract. That is, there may be terms of the contract or certain obligations, rights, everything will be mentioned in the contract. So if it is against those terms, we say that the contract is conditional. So we all know that if anyone places a condition for an offer, it is seen that most of the other parties, they may not accept that contract, because they think that a condition is placed for that contract. So they may not be willing to accept the contract. Like for example, if A promises to build, or to sell a house to B, but A makes a condition that if he wants to sell that house, B in return has to sell his car. So here A, while making the tender, he had stated about a condition. That is, if A has to sell his house, A in return should get a car from B. So as here the condition is placed in the tender, B may not accept that contract. So whenever in a tender a condition is placed, the other party may not accept that contract. So when it is not accepted that contract, you cannot say that the contract is performed. So never ever place a condition in your tender. The second point is that it must be made at a proper time and place. proper time and place. This is one of the important element, that is, in the contract or while placing a tender, the party will state at what time, at place the contract has to be performed. So as per that time and place, the contract has to be performed. It is not that as per our decision we can anywhere or at any time we can discharge the contract. No. While placing a tender, you need to place or you have to fulfill that contract at the right time and at the right place. For example, if A promises to deliver 500 bags of wheat to B at his warehouse. So in this case, A has to deliver that 500 bags of rice at B's warehouse itself. Instead, if A delivers the rice to B's office or his factory, we can say that the contract is not performed or the tender is not performed at the proper place. So, whatever time or place is being mentioned in the contract, as per that the tender has to be performed. So, this is the second point. And the third point is that it should be in respect of whole obligation. Respect of whole obligation. So, when a tender is being placed, it must be made in respect of the whole obligation or not as a part of a whole obligation. That is, if there is a minor variations in the tender, it does not affect the validity of the contract. For example, if A promises to deliver 200 bags of wheat to B, but for a payment, okay, but B makes a payment when A actually delivers 490 bags of rice to B. So here 500 was mentioned in the contract. 500 bags of rice was actually mentioned in the contract. But here A has delivered 490 bags of rice. In this case, we cannot say that the contract is void. It is still a valid contract. But instead, if A has delivered 600 bags of rice, we can say that the contract is void. So a slight or a minute variations in the contract or in the tender, it may not affect the validity of the contract. The contract will be considered, the tender will be still a valid tender. So this is the thing, so it must be made in respect of the whole obligation. Okay. So the next point is that it must be made in a proper form. So whichever form is being mentioned in the contract, in that form itself the tender has to be performed. Like for example, if A promises to deliver a certain good to B for a payment and both the parties agrees to make the payment in check, but if A, when delivering the good, if B makes a payment through cash way, that's not in a proper form. So whenever or we are making or when you're performing the contract has to be performed as per the form that is mentioned in the contract. It is not that some way or in your way you have to perform it. As per the terms of the contract, you need to perform the contract or the tender. Okay. So that is the point. So the next point is that it must be made to a proper person. That's very important. So whoever is a party who is mentioned in the contract or has been involved in that contract, those parties itself has to perform the contract. So while you are making a tender, it has to be made to the right person whom you are meaning. Same way that right person itself has to make the tender. So to right person, the contract, if it is performed only, you can say that it will be a valid tender. Okay, next one is that it must be made a reasonable opportunity to inspect. Reasonable opportunity to inspect. That is, in almost all the performance, the contracting parties may inspect the property. So the same way is applicable in the case of a tender also. That is, the parties have got the right to inspect the property which has been mentioned in that contract. Okay, so they wanted, why they are inspecting is that they are inspecting in order to see or to check whether the property or the thing which is mentioned under the tender is the same thing which is being done under a contract. That is, at the last time also the same thing itself is being used as a material. The same material is being used. So in order to inspect that, this reasonable opportunity or this inspection is being done. So a reasonable opportunity to inspect, that is, the parties must have the opportunity to inspect their property mentioned in the contract, that is in the tender. And the last and the final point, that is the last essential of a valid tender, is that the person making a tender must be able, the person must be able and willing to perform. That is very important, willing to perform. So just for the name's sake, the party should not make a tender. So if they are making a tender, it must be in a way that the person must be able and he should be willing to perform that tender. For a name's sake, we should not perform or we should not give a tender to another party. So when the person is able and if he is willing to perform that tender, we can say that it is a valid tender. So in short, these are the main essentials of a valid tender. So we have discussed, first one is that it has to be unconditional. No conditions have to be placed while in the tender. Second one, it has to be made at a proper time and place. Whatever time and place has been mentioned in the tender, at that right place and time the tender has to be performed. Then it should be in respect of the whole obligation. A minute variation in the tender will not affect the validity of a tender. Then it should be made in a proper form. Whichever form has been mentioned in the tender, as per that form itself, the tender has to be, or the parties have to be performing. Next, it has to be made to a right person. To the proper person itself, the tender has to be placed. Then reasonable opportunity to inspect. Whoever is a party or whoever to whom we are actually making this tender, that person must be given a reasonable opportunity to inspect their property. And the last and the final thing is that the person must be able and he must be willing to perform the contract. Then only it will be a successful tender. So these are the essentials of a valid tender.